Okay, we're going to be hot in 15 seconds, people. Stand by. Queue open.
Talent, check your spot.
Audio up.
Clear the set, everybody.
Stand by camera 3. Stand by camera 1. Camera 4, check your focus.
Carol, make sure the phone guests are standing by.
Stand by camera 2.
Okay, Don, we're ready out here.
Okay, thanks. Let's rock and roll. Count them in.
10, 9,
Here we go.
8,
Flying graphic.
7,
Camera 2, I'm going to be coming to you
5,
first. Stand by to cue mark.
4, 3, 2.
And cue mark.
Hello, I'm Mark Crutcher, President of Life Dynamics, and I welcome you to Life Talk for May 2015. Like we do every month, we're going to lead off with Alan Ackles and this month's Life Talk News. Alan?
All right, thank you, Mark. Pro-life advocates scored another major victory against Obamacare when Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito blocked a federal appeals court ruling that would have forced Catholic groups in Pennsylvania to pay for abortion-inducing drugs for their employees. The Florida-based Liberty Counsel filed the first suit on behalf of Liberty University on the first day Obamacare was signed into law. Matt Staver, founder and chairman of the legal group, described the ruling as a pivotal point toward tearing down an unconstitutional government program that would force Americans to pay for something that violates their religious beliefs. Michigan pro-life activist Lynn Mills told Life Talk News that she discovered thousands of women's medical records left inside the now-closed Feminine Health Center owned by retired abortionist Alberto Hordari. Mills said that the unlocked building had gaping holes in the walls where she found the records as well as large piles of syringes. Mills said that when she contacted the authorities, they showed no interest in the situation. At that point, she decided to make the information public in order to warn past abortion clinic patients that their privacy is at risk. The building has since been sold and the files have been removed. Researchers at the University of Hawaii are recruiting girls as young as 14 to see how much they will bleed if deprived of oxytocin during late-term abortions. Oxytocin is commonly used to minimize blood loss and decrease the risk of hemorrhage. The controversial study is already underway at the Kapiolani Medical Center in Honolulu, led by researchers who are part of a program that collaborates with Planned Parenthood in training abortionists. The study is still seeking up to 166 test subjects who are between the ages of 14 and 50, whose pregnancies range from 18 to 24 weeks gestation. Well, in the ongoing problem of pro-choice violence, a 52-year-old Texas woman has been arrested and charged with aggravated assault after witnesses say she threw a Molotov cocktail at pro-lifers praying outside an Austin Planned Parenthood. Police identified the perpetrator as Melanie Maria Toney, who admitted to throwing the device. Pro-lifer Ruth Allwine, who was praying during the 40 Days for Life campaign, said that this was not the first time a pro-choice activist had thrown things at her. Allwine said that after the bomb was tossed, she quickly stomped out the fire and pulled out the wick to make sure the fire did not make contact with the contents of the bottle. It was later discovered that Toney had previously testified against pro-life legislation in the state capitol. A pro-choice man in Washington state has been charged with a felony after he allegedly cut the brake line on his girlfriend's vehicle. Authorities say that 31-year-old Justin Dean Herrick was arrested after his girlfriend told investigators with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department that she discovered fluid near a front tire of her truck from a cut brake line after she refused Herrick's demand to have their child aborted. According to local news reports, Herrick has admitted to cutting the brake line but pleaded not guilty to attempted first-degree assault and third-degree malicious mischief. In a similar story, a Texas high school teenager is on trial for the murder of his 16-year-old girlfriend after she refused his demand to get an abortion. Prosecutors believe 17-year-old Ryan Matthews killed Ariana Hill because he feared that his college and sports careers would be ruined if she gave birth to their unborn twins. An examination of Matthews' cell phone at the time of his arrest showed that he had texted Hill telling her to get an abortion. Online searches reveal that Matthews was asking if it was possible to smash or squish a baby in the womb and inquiring how late a doctor could perform an abortion in Texas. He also sought information about how to cause a miscarriage. Matthew has been certified as an adult and charged with capital murder. Well, in Iowa, the principal of a local high school has received a demand letter from the Thomas More Society after he told students they could not form a pro-life club on the campus. Jocelyn Floyd, an attorney for the Thomas More Society, says that Principal Steve Madsen of Hampton Dumont High School unconstitutionally discriminated against Isabel Akers and Students for Life of America when they claimed the pro-life club didn't tie in with the school's curriculum, while at the same time allowing other clubs on campus that do not meet the criteria either. Akers, now a senior, said she began her fine as a sophomore and just wanted to spend her time educating fellow students on the beauty of human life, but has instead been forced to fight for her First Amendment rights. Meanwhile, officials at the Fargo School District in North Dakota have agreed to allow pro-life student groups on campus after also receiving letters from the Thomas More Society. Pro-life students Katie McPherson at Davies High School and Bridget O'Keefe at Fargo North High School say that their petitions to launch pro-life clubs were originally denied, even though other student clubs had been recognized. Lawyers for the students say that the decision discriminated against pro-life speech by not permitting the clubs to use the school name, host events, or to put up posters at school. According to the Thomas More Society, despite the district's agreement to now allow the clubs, the schools are dragging their feet and forcing attorneys to issue a second demand letter on the behalf of the students. Well, a pro-life display at the Clarion University of Pennsylvania has been destroyed for the second time in 4 years. Clarion Students for Life said that when they put up their annual Cemetery of the Innocents display, which consists of dozens of white crosses representing babies who were aborted, it was vandalized within hours. The pro-life group said pro-choice vandals broke and wrote on the crosses and then stuffed them into a trash can. The group has since reported that a freshman has admitted to throwing the crosses in the trash because she said she was offended by the display. Well, a pro-life pastor in Mississippi has been awarded over $10,000 in damages from the city of Columbus for his unlawful arrest during a pro-life demonstration 4 years ago. Stephen Joyner, pastor of First Nazarene Church in Columbus, was arrested by Columbus Police Department Captain Frederick Shelton for simply holding a sign on a public right-of-way supporting the right to life of unborn children. According to attorney Steve Crampton, chief counsel for the American Center for Constitutional Rights, that represented Joyner, in an attempt to justify the arrest, police cited the city's parade ordinance, which requires a permit prior to engaging in speech on a public sidewalk. Crampton sued on behalf of the pastor. Allegedly, the city violated Joyner's free speech rights. And in addition to the fine, Columbus has agreed to change 2 city ordinances to comply with the Constitution. And in Ohio, an abortionist who killed one of her patients has not only been given an award, but also a promotion, according to Operation Rescue. Last year, 22-year-old Lakeisha Wilson was tragically killed during a botched second trimester abortion performed by Lisa Pereira at the preterm abortion clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. Now, Physicians for Reproductive Choice has announced that Pereira will receive their most distinguished award for the so-called adversity she received after pro-lifers called for disciplinary action and even criminal charges related to Wilson's death. In addition to receiving the award, Pereira has received a promotion from Philadelphia's Thomas Jefferson University School of Medicine, where she also works. And in Nebraska, a local news outlet reported that a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic in Lincoln was forced to stop doing abortions after the center's abortionist suddenly quit. Now, information obtained by Operation Rescue indicates that the unexpected departure may have been prompted by a state investigation into the facility's emergency practices. Photos uploaded to Operation Rescue's website show the emergency door cordoned off and completely blocked by a deep trench, piles of dirt, and construction debris that would prevent ambulance personnel from using the entrance. A letter obtained by Life Talk News from the Nebraska Division of Public Health and uploaded to the Life Dynamics blog acknowledged the photos and says that the state will be investigating the situation in the near future. And finally, an Arkansas woman chose life for her unborn child after pro-lifers showed her video of a medical emergency at the clinic where she has scheduled her abortion. The video, uploaded by Pro-Life Action League, shows an ambulance arriving at the Little Rock Family Planning Abortion Clinic in Arkansas. Well, according to the tape, the clinic called 911 twice, canceling their initial request for an ambulance, and then calling again for one. Pro-lifers believe abortionist Tom Vetton ordered his employee to cancel the emergency call because he didn't want pro-lifers to publish pictures of the ambulance at this clinic. Pro-Life Action League said that the audio on the tape indicates that the patient had hemorrhaged and was transported to the University of Arkansas Hospital. The group is now actively working to obtain further information on the patient after one of the abortion clinic staffers told a sidewalk counselor that the woman would have died anyway, unquote. Alan Ackles here for Life Talk News. You can get daily news updates by logging on to prolifeamerica.com. Mark, back to you.
Thanks, Alan. Well, everybody's back. Hello, Rennie.
Hello.
Renee Hobbs, my loyal assistant.
Yes.
Couldn't do without. Actually, the one who runs Life Dynamics. And, of course, Father Frank wandered back on the reservation.
I wandered back.
Right. And we're going to talk about your trip to the Vatican.
To the Vatican.
You said there some really cool things happened there.
Yes.
And Troy's back this month,
2 months in a row, baby.
and a big event since last month.
Yep, I'm a grandfather.
You're a grandfather.
Actually, I was a grandfather 9 months ago, but
Right.
now we got one on the ground, and we
He's
got to
out
see
of the
his
hangar
lovely face. Yep.
on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Well, I thought about, now that you're a grandfather, and,
Uh-huh.
and you know you're not aging all that gracefully actually, but anyway,
You're looking in the mirror again?
yeah, I thought we ought to get you a flannel shirt and a little stick and a little knife, and you can go sit somewhere and whittle, like all the
Just
other
whittle my
grandfathers.
life away?
Right, just whittle. And you're probably going to be one of those grandpas that sits out in a flannel shirt in the front yard hollering at all the kids to get off your lawn.
No, I think I'm going to be one of those grandfathers that post 1 million pictures of my grandbaby on Facebook. And Twitter, I'll be tweeting. This is, look, the reason that we do the pro-life work is not only for us, but for the next generation and the next generation.
Right.
So I've said I've done it for my children, and now we're working hard to abolish abortion for our grandchildren.
Well, thank you, Gramps. That was very, very nice.
Wait till after the show.
We got a lot of stuff to get to. But first, something we added to the show real quickly here. Our friend Johnny Hunter, who's a guest here very often, called me yesterday. They had an event in North Carolina at a black church, and he's going to join us here. He was so excited, he and Clenard Childress and some of the other African-American pro-lifers that were there. Johnny, you there?
Yes, Mark, greetings.
How are you, sir?
God bless you, real good. And we're not talking about just at a black church, brother. We're talking about at a historical black college.
Right. Tell us what happened there, because you had some really good experiences here. And don't drone on for the next 2 hours. Just, give us the Reader's Digest version here.
I'll try to keep it short because I know you got a program to keep going.
Yeah.
But Pastor Clenard and had noticed something, that this whole thing, this Black Lives Matter, has been sweeping the country in the black community. And so Pastor Clenard talked with me, and he got talked to Greg Cunningham, and we looked at the Genocide Awareness Project, and Pastor Clenard has some science design based on the theme All Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Which include the aborted child. And so we got, what we did, we actually put in all the applications. It's all started over a month or so ago. You have to do these things very early, so it just came to fruition. This we did April the 20th through the 21st. That was Monday through Wednesday. And we actually brought the Center for Bioethical Reform team, the CBRO team from Maryland, and we brought the Learn Northeast down with New Jersey. He had his folks here, and we hit the ground, set up those huge graphic displays. And the students were in shock. And I mean, those displays were very well done, but these signs were so powerful that they did not have any protesters at all. Most of the students was total in agreement, and even those who claimed to be in pro-choice had to do some thinking after some dialogue that went on. But the main thing that they kept in, there was things on these signs like abortion suppresses the black vote. And I tell you, students stood there and read that and thinking. I mean, they were discussing among themselves. And there were, and when they started looking at All Black Lives Matter, and they had hands up, don't shoot, and there was a little baby that had been aborted, and it looked like the child had his hands up. And my goodness, was that moving people. It was so moving. One young lady walked up to him, and she said, "Thank you for slapping us this morning. You're waking us up. You have waken us up." And then the corporate fraternity team came down doing their stomp and everything, and some of the girls got upset with the team doing all this stomping, and when they got to the side, they stopped stomping because the girls said, show them, pointed out those signs, show how serious it was. Mark, it was the most moving thing, and they were grabbing the literature. Every time somebody handed out a piece, they would take it. Then they went for the marvel. When they found out there was a movie, they really went with Pastor Clenard. First day, Pastor Clenard, you got to understand that we cranked up. We set everything up around about 7 o'clock in the morning, but classes and everything that start moving to about 9. By noon, some students came up and told, yes, we got to see part of it in our class today. We watched the movie in the class, and we want to see more of it tomorrow. And I tell you, it was the most moving experience there ever was.
So they were watching MAFA 21
in the classrooms.
In the classrooms, and coming back out and talking to you guys. It's strange. I had called you the other day because we'd had this idea. Renee and I had had a note about it for a month or something about doing something, tying this Black Lives Matter to the abortion thing. Mm-hmm. And I had called you about it, and I didn't know you guys were doing a similar thing there at that college. So I guess there's great minds thinking alike here, right?
Great minds do think alike, and
Right.
especially when it's a good strategy. The only way Planned Parenthood come against, they sent their little plants out finally the second day. Didn't do them much good because they waited till in the evening just before we got ready to sit down when most of the students weren't around, and tried to say, well, how did y'all get on campus? You can, because Planned Parenthood, we've been trying to set up voter registration here, and the college won't let us on, and they were doing all that junk. Of course, they were lying through their teeth, you know.
Right.
And, of course, Pat just took them over and raked them over the coals. And
That's your wife,
bless
Pat. Yeah.
and so then they went to the administration and security and tried to have us shut down. And, of course, the police came out and talked with me, and we had a nice talk. They claimed they were being, somebody was taking a picture of them without their permission, you know, the works, you know. But it's a
Right.
public place, and everybody's out there, and a lot of folks were taking pictures, you know.
Right.
And but the thing was so well. But the most powerful part of all, Mark, is when I looked at this sheet, we had put out a sheet for student sign up. We had to pull out 2 more sheets because we had a reluctance. I said, oh my goodness, almost 30 students have signed up to do something even after it's over to be involved.
One of the students told you they were going to start a black pro-life student, a Black Students for Life group.
Not just one. We're talking pretty close to about 5 of them that came up and said some things, and they said they want to start something on the campus.
So we know we're on to something here, and you know I had been working on this project. This idea of the Black Lives Matter, and we're going to put this brochure. We've pretty much got it designed. I think I think you and I have agreed. We finished it. Up.
Yes.
Renee and I finished it up yesterday, and I want to send you later on today. I want to send you another email with what I think is the right brochure for us to make for you. It's just going to be a card that you guys can hand out in all these events, just to kind of prick people.
That would be great. And I tell you, the thing that is, last night I followed through. These students gave me the emails, they gave me telephone numbers and everything, and I sent out sent out emails last night. And every single one of them was an email. And this morning, my account was loaded with these students responding back to let me know I had the right email address and everything for them.
It is great. So we know we're on the right track.
You know, and Johnny, Father Frank here, the experience that you're relating, of course, is consistent with what Center for Bioethical Reform has seen on campuses around the country, and I'm proud to serve on their board. But one of the things you mentioned is, how it's one thing if a group can get onto a campus and give a presentation in a classroom. Okay, all well and good. But when you get those displays out on the public campus, it creates a buzz throughout the campus, and not just that day, for weeks on end, in every classroom, in every nook and cranny of that campus, abortion is being discussed.
Right, exactly.
And it turns the whole campus upside down.
Topic of discussion.
Exactly. And not only that, but we have other teams came out with us. We had Aftermath Ministries came out that does post-abortion healing, Rhonda Barnes. And the good thing that Black Sister was out there because we not only had students who came down and talked, we had a young, I shouldn't say young, well, she was good middle-aged sister, came down, had the signs outside of her window. She said, oh, the kid had to come down to talk with you. She said, I got to speak with somebody. She said, see, I had an abortion when I was 15.
Oh.
And they told me it was nothing but a glob. And she said, I'm sitting there looking at this, and she said, I can't take it. She said, do you have somebody to talk? She said, I hate my parents to this day because they made me get that abortion and I didn't want it.
Wow.
And we had Rhonda Barnes out there, post-abortion counseling and the works, It was intense. There were some very intense moments, and I enjoyed every moment. And then sometimes it got way too quiet because the students were so polite.
Right.
Well, the thing I love about it, Johnny, with the all Black Lives Matter or Hands Up, Don't Shoot, or I Can't Breathe, it's taking some of these taglines from the left that they've been shoving down our throat here for months, trying to promote a political position, the administration, Obama's position, that police officers are super hyper violent. And we're just doing a jujitsu move and showing that the exact same thing is true in the sacrosanct area of the abortion clinics.
Right.
And we have the pictorial evidence, and we're showing people, and these taglines, or I guess all lives matter, all Black lives matter, is so perfect for this, and these kids have already been force-fed the lies of the left, so it's obvious that they're just going to pick up on this.
Right, right. And
Yes,
this is not
exactly.
going away.
Oh, no.
No.
This is,
Well,
as
Johnny,
you said
listen.
earlier, it's part of the lexicon.
Johnny, listen, you guys called, you and Clenard called yesterday, and I didn't get a word in for about the first 10 minutes of the conversation because you guys were bouncing off the walls. But it really was a victory. But the main thing it showed us is that we're on the right track, and we can replicate this around the country. And we're going to produce these cards for you guys to give out at these events, so these kids can have something in their hand that they can take with them that reminds them of this.
Yes.
And
Yes, and Mark, and these students are ready now. Yesterday morning, the reason we was even more excited because a group of students came together while we were setting up. They got up early in the morning before the class because they came out. They said, "We need to talk to you about something because we got to take care of this mess." You know how black brothers can act when they all do it, but they had the black sisters with them, and they told us Planned Parenthood got too much finger on this college campus already. And they told us that if a girl gets pregnant, the first Plan B, they will give her Plan B free the first time she's pregnant. And
But
those
that doesn't
students were
work that
so
way. Plan
incensed
B
about it,
only.
They said we got to do something about this mess. This got to be shut down.
Well, we're excited. This is it's obviously an outgrowth of Alpha 21 for us, and
Yes.
Alpha 21 plays a big role in this because I think this will encourage more African Americans to watch Alpha like it did. Like that's what the experience that you had already this week. So
Well, I tell you what, Pastor Clenard ran out of my office once the students found out they were going left and right.
that's good.
You know, this is Mark. You know, and my brother Pavone, all of you. You know, one thing so true that when the young folks get involved, even in the civil rights movement, when those college students and those high school students and everybody start getting involved, it made a difference.
It changed everything.
And one of the shocking things was what Pastor Knott brought down some young folks with him too. And when the college students would listen to one of them, and then they said something, they said, yeah, but you know, sister, you've been around, you're going to go to college, what are they doing? She said, no, I'm a high school student. And they were shocked. Not only were they shocked, but they were impressed, and they listened to their sister even more.
Right.
Because he was a high school student standing up for life and telling them all Black Lives Matter, which everybody wanted them said, we agree. And the ones who didn't agree was too busy contradicting themselves.
Right. Well, Johnny, thanks for what you're doing there, and I'll be talking to you later today. Renee,
All right.
Renee and I'll be calling you later today to get the final thoughts on this card before we send it to the printer.
Oh, my. God bless you. I always look forward to it. Mark, whenever you're up to something that gets dangerous, don't you? Between you, Clenard, and some other folks with CPR and everything, we're not only in it to win, we are going to win.
We are winning.
We are winning. We're winning right now.
Amen.
That's right.
Well, thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, John.
God blesses you now.
Bye-bye.
You see now something he brought out there, and it's true, and I think a lot of the folks out there, even in the pro-life movement, don't see this, but we see it with everybody. I can't think of anybody that organizes these displays of the abortion victims and doesn't do this. That component of the healing. There's somebody there, the post-abortion counselor, the invitation to mercy. We don't just put this out there we're not trying to manipulate people, make them feel bad, make them feel guilty or condemned. We're there to lift them up out of that despair. And it works because it's the image then that prompts them to repentance, makes them feel the need to ask for forgiveness. So
It almost gives them permission to come forward.
precisely.
You know, I had years ago, I was on a talk show, and a pro-abort woman called in, and the subject was these graphic displays on college campuses. And she was all bent out of shape about it and saying, look, this causes guilt among these women. That women are on this campus and they're all guilty because you're showing these pictures of these dead babies and they're all traumatized. And I pointed out, I said, look, you can show one of those pictures to 1,000 women, and if only 5 of them have had abortions and you get people that are upset, it'll be from those 5. The women don't get upset about it if they haven't had an abortion. They may disagree, they may be pro-choice, or they may argue with you about it. But the ones who go berserk are the ones who've had abortions. So, in other words, it's not the showing of the video or the pictures that traumatize them. It's the fact they had an abortion.
It's the abortion.
So
right.
it's not what we did to them, it's what you did to them.
That's right.
That's exactly what.
Exactly
And
right.
the guilt that they feel is because they've been lied and manipulated by the abortion cartel.
Right.
They didn't tell them that this was a baby, and they're going to feel remorse, and they're going
Right.
to, at some point, recognize that they killed their own child. They say, hey, this is just a little placebo pill that you're going to take, and all your problems are going to be washed away. And they don't realize it till later on. So you're right, the guilt is caused by the actual abortion and the lying that takes place inside the abortion industry to sell them their abortion.
Well, these people deceive themselves. I mean, you and I saw that when we went to Houston to interview those 3 girls
Right.
from that Houston abortion
Which is
clinic.
the worst kind of deception. When
Right.
you deceive yourself.
They deceive themselves. I
Yes,
mean,
they did.
And we would hear them that they would be talking about the unborn baby, and they'd say, and then the fetus.
Right.
They would catch themselves real quickly.
Right. They
They-
don't want to admit it.
They had trained themselves.
Right.
They had conditioned themselves in the clinic to speak that way. And I remember that girl was talking to us. She said this woman was walking to the bathroom, and the baby the fetus fell out into the hallway. It was just laying there on the floor.
Right.
But they kept catching themselves.
Saying it, yeah.
Right. Anyway, I was so, I came and told you, because I was out here in the studio and you weren't on that call, but I came and told you Johnny and Clenard were bouncing off the walls, and
Yeah, they were thrilled.
they were pretty excited. I want to pass along some sad news. Y'all remember we did the video Christie's Choice many years ago on Christie's Style that was left in a permanent vegetative state as a result of her safe and legal abortion. She passed away. Her mother called me the other day and told me that Christy passed away. But she lived 22 years.
So 22 years after her abortion.
After she was put in that permanent vegetative state.
Wow.
And her parents never gave up on her, and she's gone.
They were special people. I remember not only meeting them here, but then we had her on our EWTN program on Defending Life, and very special people.
Yeah, they were.
So ultimately, Christy died from an abortion.
16-week abortion. But here's the deal. The CDC will not count her death as a death due to abortion. She will not be in the statistics.
Right.
And this is another thing that we've seen, and it's just like this thing that if y'all saw the newscast this morning, in Arkansas where they had this complication, ambulances come, haul the girl away, and one of the clinic workers says to the sidewalk counselor, well, she would have died anyway. That tells you that she did die. If she says she was going to die anyway, right? That tells you that she did die.
Is the baby or the mom?
The mom. She said that she would have died anyway. That's letting it slip out that the woman died. What's the chances that'll be counted as a death due to abortion? I guarantee they're going to cover it up. And when we wrote Lyme 5 years ago, and all the research we've done since then, we have seen the mechanisms by which they use to cover up the women that they
It's
kill.
unbelievable. It's like, and also it's like, how they'll take all the deaths from abortion that they do admit, lump them under pregnancy-related deaths.
Right.
So then it sounds like it's the pregnancy that's the problem and not the abortion.
Right.
And
The only time I've seen the autopsy results show that the woman died as a result from an abortion is when we catch the abortion industry killing a woman, and they
can't deny
the
it.
coroner, they can't deny it, and the coroner's report is written after the fact. So when we expose them, I mean, like Tanya Reeves, Lakeisha Wilson, Jennifer Morbelli, so many others, it's only then do the coroner actually admit that the abortion had some effect on her
when
death.
it's already out.
Yeah, most often they get counted as they'll come up with something else. She died of pneumonia, or she died of a deep leg thrombosis.
Heart failure,
Leg thrombosis is
DIC.
one of the most common.
Right.
Yeah, but is this she was just walking down the street and had a ruptured uterus? She died from complications, sanguination from a ruptured uterus. Like she was just walking down the street and her uterus ruptured and she bled out.
Yeah.
But
it's all part of the bureaucrats' attempt to sanitize abortion and not bring the statistics. I mean, if the real statistics came out, actually, even the statistic they report, I think last year the CDC reported 10 abortion deaths. Who's reporting on this? Women are having abortions every single day. 10 women died in the last reporting cycle.
well,
10.
and
They're not talking about this.
20% of all the abortions that happen in the United States happen in one state, in California.
In California. Actually,
And
it's a little bit more
does not report
California does not report
Right.
to the
to the
CDC.
CDC.
Right.
Yeah.
So, anytime somebody, and I don't care even if they're pro-life or pro-abortion, they try to tell you here's the safety record for abortion. That person is either lying or doesn't know what they're talking about, because there's no way to know what the safety record of abortion is. The abortion industry has made absolute certain of that.
Right. Well, you know, I talk about, because my family's in the livestock industry, the mad cow disease that swept through Europe and they killed the entire bovine herd out there. There's a hue and outcry here in America, and they had to do a lot of testing. Billions of dollars were spent on it. It was a huge scare for a number of years. And I always ask the question, how many cases of mad cow disease did you find in the cattle herd in America? And I just wait. The answer is 0. Not one single cow or steer was ever diagnosed with mad cow in America. And yet you'd think there was a huge, enormous problem where people are dying left and right. And yet more people are dying every year from abortion, and it's swept under the rug.
Completely silent. Anyway, we have again, I guarantee you, Christy Stiles' death will never be counted as a death due to abortion.
But we'll remember her, and
we know what
her death was not in vain.
Right.
And so many people have been affected by that great video that you put together, and I really appreciate that.
You know, her mother was very distraught, you know, and this society would probably say, well, they shouldn't have kept her alive artificially for 20, well, she wasn't artificial. She was not on any kind of ventilator or anything like that. She was, you know, they'd get criticized for that, but Kay and Fred Stiles do not have to go to their grave thinking that they didn't do 100% for Christy what they could have done.
That's right.
And it was a bad situation, but again, she will not be counted as a death due to abortion, but abortion is what killed her. Ron Kaczynski, the abortionist in Colorado that did her abortion, continued to work, I assume he still is today. He's the one that killed Christy.
That's right.
But that will never get reported. Anyway, we have a lot of news here we're not going to be able to get to because of we had Johnny on, we weren't planning on that. Harry Reid says he's not going to run for re-election, which is fantastic news, and this is a guy that is one of the most prolific liars in the Senate, and that's saying something when you're a prolific liar within the Senate.
But he's personally pro-life.
Yeah, he's pro-life, right?
But he's done everything in his power to advance the abortion agenda
and
kill people.
and prevent any kind of pro-life thing from happening.
Yeah, that's right.
California is trying to push a bill that would require crisis pregnancy centers to advertise and provide written government-specific information to every client they see about how they can obtain an abortion, about information on abortion and how they can obtain one. They're going to force CPCs to do that. It's just...
Most CPCs are 501c3s, right? They're
Right.
nonprofit.
Right.
Can the government allow that to happen? I mean,
Sure they can, because they're a 501c3. That's probably going to be the reason they do it.
okay.
And anyway, if this bill passes, but it's just another example. I mean, here's one of the most radically pro-abortion states in the country, is California. 20% of all the abortions that happen in the country happen in California. They claim they're for choice, but they're going to force the CPCs against their will and against their beliefs to say to every woman, now here's the information about abortion and here's where you can go get one, and if you want an abortion, here's where...
That's where civil disobedience has to kick in.
That's right.
there was
Not
another
going to do it.
thing.
That's
Father.
right. Not going to do it.
You want to know, like I said, I'm going to have to pick out here things that are most important because we're running out of time here. You want to know one reason the United States is in a state of collapse that we're in?
Other than Obama?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and not one of my most favorite people. She was recently talking about the issue of gay marriage. She was asked about it in an interview. And she said that she thinks the court will rule in favor of gay marriage. And her justification for it was that she thinks the American people are ready to accept gay marriage. That is not what a Supreme Court justice's role is. A Supreme Court justice is supposed to be commenting on whether a particular law passed by a lower court is constitutional or not whether the public is ready for it. But this is more evidence of what I've said here many times. The United States Supreme Court and our whole judicial system is now a political body. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the Constitution or with the judicial decision.
Yeah.
It is a political body, And she's basically admitting it.
Right.
And you know, it's the same thing, the other side of the coin, what they said in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which essentially in terms of reversing Roe v. Wade, they said, well, the public's not ready for it.
Right, right.
What does that have to do with what's constitutional?
Right, it has nothing to do with what's constitutional. And so what we now have, and we could go into a long dissertation about why this happened. My personal view is that, I think most people are not aware of the fact that the Senate is the one that confirms justices to either the Supreme Court or the federal courts. That was supposed to be a non-political decision, and that's why Senate did it, not the Congress. When you say, well, both parties are political, not originally. Right. The Senate was an appointed body until 1913.
Right.
It was appointed by the state legislature.
Right, right.
And in 1913, we changed the law and made the Senate an elected body. That, by extension, then politicized the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And we started going downhill from that point forward.
That's why in these hearings, what's your position on this issue? What's your position on that issue? They should be focusing on their qualifications.
Right.
It's what it's supposed to be,
right.
But it's not.
Well, and of course, when we saw that was no longer the case in the situation with Robert Bork.
Yeah.
Nobody on God's green earth argued that Robert Bork wasn't qualified to be a Supreme Court justice.
Right.
But when he started being questioned on all these left-wing positions by all these leftists wanting to know what his position was on abortion and all these other issues, they said he was not morally qualified from a temperament standpoint. He didn't have the right temperament.
Well, to further that thought, you know, when Chief Justice John Roberts was confirmed, nobody could question his ability to be one of the smartest people in the room on all judicial affairs. He answered every question impeccably. However, once it came to Obamacare, he wrote both sides of the opinion. He changed his position at the very last minute, which proves that the court has been politicized.
Right.
And I make no bones about it. I have zero faith and hope in the Supreme Court. The only place where we are winning is on the local level in our local communities. We're closing this abortion clinic and this abortion clinic. Texas is a prime example. Half of the abortion clinics have closed in Texas due to HB2. That's where we're winning. I don't think we're ever going to win in Washington, D.C. until we win on the local level.
Well, when you close an abortion mill, you've reversed Roe v. Wade in that community.
I love
and for those babies.
Yep.
And
for those babies, abortion is ended.
Right. And you know, you talk about half the abortion clinics, and if you're just talking about from HB2.
Right.
But if you go back over the last, say, 25 years, I can tell you that 30-some odd years ago, when I first got involved in pro-life work full time, that there were more abortion clinics in Dallas-Fort Worth than there are now in the whole state of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. You know, I always recite these numbers, and for our new viewers, you understand 71% of all the nation's abortion clinics have closed down for good.
Right.
And 20 years ago, the Pregnancy Counseling Center model, which was almost non-existent, now outnumber abortion clinics 5 to 1.
Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
Yeah,
5
That's
to 1.
right.
Clearly we're winning. Clearly we're putting them out of business, but we're doing it on a local level. In our home communities, that's where we win. Stop waiting for Washington, D.C. and the Supreme Court to do anything.
Right.
Just take the bull by the horns.
Exactly.
That's a good Texas saying, isn't it? Take the bull by the horns.
Right. Of course, when you take the bull by the horns, you got your hands full.
It's called, we call that bulldogging.
Right. You got a 2,000-pound bull by the horns. You've got your hands full.
Don't let go.
Right. All right. Last month, we had Dr. Matthew Harrison on talking about this, and you weren't here, but I know you're familiar with this project of the reversing the effects of RU46. That even after a woman has started this protocol, it's not too late necessarily, and that some doctors are having some successes reversing this. And we had Dr. Matthew Harrison on because he's involved in this to talk about it. Right afterward, we saw some stories coming out where the medical establishment now, and probably even I think the pro-aborts are behind this, pretty obvious that they are starting to now, you think?
Yeah.
They're starting to question these guys about this and suggesting that this may not be medically appropriate and, you know, if this is the right thing to do. And so I kind of saw that this was, like I said, the fine hand of the abortion lobby. We've seen this. How many times have we seen this, Father Frank?
That's right.
You know, over the years, you and I have been working together. This fits their pattern. This has got their fingerprints all over it.
That's right.
Well, worse than that, you know, RU46 was supposed to be the savior of the abortion industry as they saw everything collapsing in the surgical world.
Right.
They wanted to bring in RU46, and they're going to do away with surgical abortions, and all of us were supposed to go away. That was about 10 years ago.
Right, here we are.
And now that you can reverse RU46, it's reversing their plans to promote abortion.
Well, I thought I would have Dr. Harrison back on this month, and he was gracious enough to give us the time. So, Dr. Harrison, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
And you're in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, right?
Yes, sir. Just north of Charlotte.
Yeah, we had Johnny Hunter on earlier, and he was in Charlotte. So it looks like all our guests this month were from North Carolina. I assume you're aware of. I don't want to call it an attack because I don't think it rises to that level yet. But you can see like I said, the handprints of the abortion industry all over this deal, and it will crescendo into an attack if they're not able to thwart it at this lower level. But you're seeing the same thing, are you?
We certainly are.
Are they going to have any success? You know, one of the things that they're arguing, which is we know the hypocrisy of the what I call the godless left and the abortion lobby has no limits. One of the things they're arguing is that this is outside the medical protocol. And yet these people are administering RU46 in ways that it was never approved for, using protocol that was completely 180 degrees different than the clinical trials were used. But anyway, that's their argument. Are they going to be able to make that argument stand up?
Well, they can make the argument, but it certainly isn't going to hold water. I think the basic idea here is that people need to understand how research is performed. And unfortunately, a lot of physicians and people in the abortion industry apparently don't really understand how basic research is done. So initially, someone has an idea that makes scientific sense. And certainly, in this case, RU46, which is a blocker of progesterone, it seems like it would make perfect scientific sense to be able to undo that with extra progesterone. Because as everyone in receptor biology knows, and we're taught in very basic science class, that when a receptor receives a chemical that attaches to that receptor, it's very rarely locked and never coming off. It is in a state of flux constantly. It's on and it's off and it's on and it's off. And so if we can introduce more progesterone that will activate the receptor, then it makes good scientific sense that we could outcompete the RU46 that is not allowing the receptor to work. So that's the first step. The second step then is to see what happens in animal models. And this is old research that has been done, and we have seen in rat studies from years ago that if you administer both RU46 as well as progesterone at the same time, that the progesterone can outcompete the RU46 and nullify its effects. So that's step two, and that's animal research. Now, depending on what you're researching, the next step can involve either controlled studies or retrospective studies. Now, it'd be unethical to have a lot of women become pregnant and then give half of them RU46 with progesterone and then half of them RU46 without progesterone and just see how many babies lived. That would be unethical. And one of the arguments that they're saying is that these studies that are being performed don't have an ethical board that's reviewing them. And that's correct, because all of these are retrospective studies. We find women who have made the decision on their own to reverse their abortion, and then we're following whatever protocol they were administered to see what happens, what the outcome is. And so this is how research has been done really for hundreds of years, especially in situations where we don't exactly know the outcome, and the outcome can be very life-changing and can even lead to death. So that's what we've done here, is the first study that Dr. Delgado and Dr. Mary Davenport published in the Journal of Pharmacotherapy in December of 2012 was just a case report. It showed six cases where a woman had changed her mind, had taken RU46, and then was administered progesterone. They were not all exactly the same because there is no established protocol until now. And so that's what we're trying to achieve, is to establish a protocol that's safe, that's very effective, and with time and with more data, we can fine-tune this protocol to make it as safe as possible and as effective as possible and as efficient as possible so that it's not costly, it's not uncomfortable, and that we can serve these women who have taken the bold move to save their babies' lives.
Well, I can assure you, having been at this well over 30 years, Father Frank would confirm this, Renee would confirm it, Troy would. They're going to come after you guys politically. You can just put that in your little calendar book because that's what's going to happen. And I think this is the first shot of it. They're going to try it on a very low level and try to appear kind of almost intellectual about it. But when that doesn't work, and from what you're telling me it won't work, then the next step will be political.
Yeah.
And you can just anticipate that.
Sure, and that's okay because we have many of us have been under attack for years for taking different stances in medicine. So, for instance, a lot of the research that was done on smoking, especially, of course, was done through Philip Morris researchers. And a lot of us in the medical community said, that's ridiculous. We know that smoking hurts people and kills people.
Right.
But the industry and sometimes even media many years ago were saying, no, we have studies that show that smoking can even be healthy and beneficial for you. But, this is very similar to how Planned Parenthood uses Guttmacher Institute, which is essentially their research arm.
Right.
And, it's just like Philip Morris using their researchers to stand up for tobacco.
Right.
The abortion industry is using Guttmacher to stand up for abortion, and it's completely biased research and has ulterior motives. So I think that the medical community now is coming behind this. The science is getting stronger. We have better scientific data as far as ultrasound technology, imaging technology, and being able to understand what's happening to the person that's in the womb as well as the person that is carrying that womb. And I think that they're going to have a very difficult time convincing the world that now close to 300 physicians are signed up for this protocol around the world, and many more are jumping on board every day.
Good.
You know what I like about this, Matt, of course, you're one of our medical advisors at Priests for Life. You have been for a long time. And, you had the breakthrough case on this back in, was it 2006, 2007, we started talking about this. But what I like about the attacks are that they're responding to an initiative that we all took together, the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs and Priests for Life had this press conference back in February. And we did it at that particular time for a very calculated reason, because of the fact that this protocol has matured. And some 300 doctors are doing it, and it's been written up in a medical journal, and it's been shown to have a success record, and it's been, now's the time to take something like that and push it, and take the battle to the enemy, and go in front of the cameras, and get this word out. Because then the good thing about this, too, is it's win-win. Because when the pro-aborts attack this, what are they doing? They're spreading the word about it.
Right.
Oh, these doctors have they claim to have a protocol to reverse RU486. Well, that's all people need to hear, because when you have an abortion procedure that takes several days, what's going to happen? Inevitably, what's going to happen is that the ambivalence that's in the heart and mind of so many of these mothers
From the beginning.
kicks in from the beginning, kicks in and has time then for her to express it and time for someone to intervene.
Right, exactly. That's right.
I also find it very ironic that the abortion cartel is calling for an ethical board to review the studies of people who are trying to save lives that the other side is trying to kill.
And they're not calling for the ethical board to review their use of RU486, the fact that it is being used in a way that is totally contrary to the clinical trials.
Well, and not to mention, Cytotec is an anti-cancer drug.
Right.
So, that's off-label use. But I just find it so ironic. The abortion industry, which by definition is unethical, they're killing children, are calling for an ethical investigation into those who are trying to undo what they're doing.
Like you said, the hypocrisy has no limits.
Right.
It has no bounds.
They always say that they're not for abortion, they're just for women having the right to choose. But apparently women should not have the right to unchoose.
Right.
Right? Choice is, what we've said here a million times, choice is a one-way street. If you're choosing abortion, we're on your side. If you're going to drift off here and maybe go to a CPC and not want to have an abortion, we're going to fight you tooth and nail.
You know, the big secret of the abortion industry in the United States, it thrives on coercion.
Coercion, that's right.
And that's why they hate this so much.
Coercion, manipulation, and lies.
That's right.
I mean, how many times do you talk to women or anybody that bought something, they have a little bit of buyer's remorse? There wouldn't be the term buyer's remorse if you didn't have that. And one thing we saw in the late-term abortion realm, when they were doing partial birth abortions or second trimester abortions, they'd insert the laminaria to dilate the cervix for a 2 or 3 day procedure. Oftentimes we could bring the women out, get the laminaria removed, and save the baby.
We talked about that last month. Right.
Well, that's
This
right.
is the exact same scenario. Woman takes the pill and they go, oh my gosh, what have I done? And they can get in touch with these 300 physicians, get it reversed, and all of a sudden they've got a real baby.
This, oh my God, what have I done? How many women have you talked to, Renee, since you've been here on the phone, that was exactly what their attitude?
A lot.
A lot of them.
Yes.
Too many.
And when you say, what have I done? And if at that moment that baby's still living,
Right.
that's what we see here.
That's right.
The reversal of RU46 and the reversal of the late
Well, Dr. Harrison, as I told you last month, we're really proud of you for what you're doing and want to support you in that. But I saw this happening and I thought, yeah, this is the beginning of it. And so I wanted to bring you on and just encourage you to understand what's going to happen in the future, and you're just going to have to be strong and withstand these people, because they are nasty and they are liars, and they're committed to the destruction of these babies, and they don't like anything that gets in their way, and you're starting to get in their way.
Well, we appreciate you bringing this to light, and keep up the good work of spreading that news.
Well, thank you, sir. Thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Mark, how can people that are watching this, maybe it's for the first time they've seen it or heard about it, they watched last month, how can they get in touch?
Well, we'll put they have a website, abortionpillreversal.com.
Right.
And we'll put that message up on the screen we did
Excellent.
last month and let people know about it. But
There's a hotline number.
it's a hotline, 800 number,
Excellent.
and they've gotten hundreds of physicians now on board to help with this, so they're spread out all over the country. It's not like they're all in North Carolina.
No.
Because it's important to act fast on this. If they've taken the pill today, they've got to get help today,
gotta be
tomorrow.
immediate. Yeah.
Right.
And the sooner they get help, the sooner they can get that
Well,
baby
and
saved.
if our friends that are watching, our Life Talk viewers, tell your, if you got a pregnancy center, especially if it's a medical clinic and there's a
Right.
physician, that physician should know about this. We have a kit that we provide them with the
Right.
protocol, et cetera, et cetera. Spread the word.
Right,
Spread the
exactly.
word.
You had some interesting experiences, Father Frank. We're going to get those in a moment. I want to clear up a few things here. In New Orleans, they're trying to build this mega center, Planned Parenthood down there. They're having some problems getting people to actually be willing to work on it, because most people don't want to work on a death camp like that. But anyway, Planned Parenthood of the Gulf Coast has organized a thing called Stand With Women rally in support of a new abortion facility in the Crescent City. How sweet. Guess where the rally took place? Anybody know?
NOW headquarters, ACLU, communist headquarters, where?
What do you think?
Presbyterian Church.
Presbyterian Church.
Yes.
The First Presbyterian Church of New Orleans, Reverend Fred J. Powell III, heretic, I would add.
It's got to be PCUSA. I'm a PCA guy, and I'm ashamed even of them.
But they're holding a thing, and he said he wanted to make it clear that, he said, quote, "We welcome our soon-to-be neighbors, Planned Parenthood of New Orleans." Anyway, he goes on to laud Planned Parenthood.
That's like a Jewish center welcoming the Nazi
a neo-Nazi group to the
group
community.
right next door. Well, even worse, welcoming Auschwitz.
Yep.
This is just disgusting. But I do know that there's a lot of state and county officials that are blocking the efforts of putting that Planned Parenthood in.
Yep.
And it goes all the way up to Bobby Jindal, and I really appreciate the work. He is a very pro-life governor.
He is.
Great guy.
There's an article we came across the other day. I'll get through this real quick because I want to get Father Frank in to talk about some of the these pro-aborts. I've said before, they're nuts. I mean, literally. I mean, these people are mentally unhinged, and they make some of the stupidest statements. This abortionist in this article by Nicole Faragian said, "I stopped delivering babies so that I could provide abortions." He didn't stop delivering babies. He just started delivering dead babies. This is the thing I get so excited, so exercised about when you hear these women say, I don't know if I'm going to have the baby or not. If you're pregnant, you are going to have the baby.
That's right.
Right.
The question is, are you going to have a dead baby or are you going to have a live baby?
I'm not ready to be a mom yet. Sorry, you're already
You're
a mom.
Exactly.
You didn't have any choice about it once you became pregnant.
Right.
You're a mom.
Exactly.
You're just a mom of a dead baby or a live baby. Now that's your decision.
And we have to be careful on our side that we don't reinforce this illusion when we say on the pro-life side, well, I'm going to have a baby, or I'm going to bring a child into the world, or I have a baby on the way. On the way from where?
Right.
If you're pregnant, the baby's not on the way. The baby's there.
Oh, Father
here.
Frank the stork brings those babies.
On the day of birth, right, from the sky.
They just drop in somehow like paratroopers or something.
The birth canal.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, this guy didn't, or this woman did not stop delivering babies. They just started delivering dead babies.
She says it's a blessing too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
I know
That
it.
abortion is a blessing.
Satanic blessing.
Yeah, let's see here. Abortion advocate at Ohio State University has written a song that he's going around campus singing, Kill Your Unborn Child. Last thing we need is in this world is another mouth to feed, kill your unborn. And he's walking around campus singing that.
How about you just say you first?
Yeah, your mouth is eating, it looks like pretty well. Another one, Eleanor Holmes Norton. Yeah, another one of my favorite people. Talking at the George Washington University. Isn't that supposed to be a Catholic institution? Father Frank, I'll throw this to you.
Oh, we got to ask them.
What is she even doing there?
Right.
Right. And they were talking about late-term abortions. And one of the things that she stated was that late-term abortions, they're doing more and more late-term abortions. Are you ready for this? Because they can see the fetal heart so much better in a late term than they can in an early term, so it makes the abortion easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
To shoot digoxin into the baby's heart?
You can see them better when the bigger they get. So then wouldn't the proper protocol be if a woman comes in at 10 weeks and wants to have an abortion, you say, no, come back at 20 so we can see the baby better.
Between 17 and 20 weeks.
Well, the dirty little secret there is also costs more money. You know, I say this all the time. Abortionists have sonogram machines, same reason why butchers have scales, because they charge by the pound. And the bigger the baby, the more expensive the abortion, the more profit margin there is.
A new book out, Sister Apple, Sister Pig.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
sure have you heard about this?
Yes, it's horrible and despicable.
Mary Walling Blackburn, and when she starts talking about abortion in this, she starts talking about how you talk to a child, basically, who's had a sibling
Right.
killed in an abortion. And she says, you have to see her as a, quote, if she's a female, your sister is a happy ghost.
Yeah.
That's how you describe them. They're happy ghosts. I don't, like I said, these people are mentally unhinged. I don't know what you say about things like
It's
that.
a children's book.
Yes.
It's a children's book.
Right.
You give this to your sibling after you had an abortion to teach them that it's okay to kill your brother or sister. It is the most despicable, heart-wrenching, horrible way to even talk to your child. What's the other baby going to think? Are you going to kill me next?
Right.
Am I going to be the next happy ghost?
Yeah.
Talk about a disposable society.
A happy ghost. Have you ever, I mean, we've heard of Holy Ghost. I didn't know Happy Ghost was
You
part
know
of
why
it.
this is happening? Because the awareness of that siblings have. We're seeing this in our Shockwaves initiative that we've been doing.
Yeah.
You know, that the shockwaves of abortion not only hit the baby, the mom, the dad, but the siblings, the grandparents, the aunts, uncles, cousins,
And the whole society.
And the wound is on the whole society. And just like the abortionists, you know, they have to have these psychological ways of you know, joking about and fooling around about what they do. Now what we're seeing this within the family. This is addressing a real wound, and either we're going to address the sibling wound by appropriately helping them grieve and face up to it, which is what we're doing with Shockwaves, or it's going to result in nonsense
ghost.
like this. Yeah.
What is a happy ghost?
Yeah.
I mean, you have more theological education here than any of us, and so I thought surely we can get Father Frank on. We can talk
I've
about
never
this.
actually seen this category in any of the theological.
You know, in an interesting way, this proves that we're winning. They're admitting
does.
that it's a human being, and it's admitting that it's a soul.
It's a
and
happy
they're admitting
ghost.
that they've killed it.
Yeah.
It, her, him.
When you read this, Renee, did you pick up any new theological lessons from this? Are you going to let Mary Walling Blackburn be your theological guide from this point forward? Because
She needs to retire what she's doing.
we just saw another article in the Journal of Medical Ethics. We've seen this many times. Professor Julian Savulescu, director of the Oxford Center for Practical Ethics, as opposed to what?
Impractical?
Impractical ethics. Now calling on after-birth abortion.
There we
Like
go.
That's
Peter
practical.
Singer,
There we go. Yes.
And there's lots of
That
others.
article
that are out.
that appeared that time a
Right.
few years ago. Yeah.
And I still say, I know people are going to take this the wrong way, but I still say this: they're the ones who are intellectually honest, because what they're saying
Yes,
is
they are.
They're the ones who are saying there's no distinction. They're saying it. There's no distinction between a baby in utero and a baby just out of the uterus.
Right.
The arguments for killing that baby in the womb, if they're right, they prove too much.
Right.
Because it justifies killing the baby outside the womb.
And these guys are openly stating that parents ought to have a year and a half maybe
Right.
to bond with the baby. And if they don't bond, or if they decide we're not ready to be parents, they can take this baby to a physician and have it
And
euthanized.
be killed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or if it's not perfect.
Right, yeah, Down syndrome.
Why should choice have limits?
Right. So you can have them put down like a dog or a cat or something.
Right.
But I still argue these are the intellectually honest
Well,
ones.
it's like you said, it's like Peter Singer said. You know, there's only two consistent positions: either oppose abortion or endorse euthanasia, endorse infanticide. Rather.
Right.
And he
And
said,
he's right.
How can the physical birth be such a morally significant dividing line? It can't,
Right.
and it isn't.
Right.
So you either oppose abortion or you endorse infanticide.
Right. He's
That's
right.
The only consistent positions.
He's exactly right. A New York legislature. What's in the water up there in New York? We keep getting these deals. We had the Tommy the Chimp thing that you talked about a couple of months,
Right.
trying to make him a person. Now they got these two others, Leo and some other chimp. They're trying to get out of jail. They're claiming that you can't keep them in the zoos because you're incarcerating them. They don't have a trial or anything. What's in the water up there, Father Frank?
We are working on it.
A New York legislator made a statement during the New York General Assembly on an abortion bill. This woman's name is Deborah Glick, and she said, quote, "Women are totally and completely thrilled to be having abortions."
It's not what Hillary Clinton said.
Yeah,
Hillary Clinton said
everyone's a tragedy,
A
right?
tragic choice.
Right.
Abortion represents a tragic choice.
These
Hillary
people
Clinton.
are whacked, I'm telling you. You
Yes.
just got back from we hang out here, right? And we go out to the little restaurant on the square. He goes and hangs out with the Pope. I guess that kind of puts things in perspective.
It does,
You and I
yeah.
go down to Cartwright's for
Right.
lunch or something on the square and have chicken fried steak, and
Right.
meanwhile he's over hobnobbing with the Pope.
I was at the Vatican. Of course, that's why I wasn't here at Life Talk last month. I was there twice in the month of March. First for the assembly of what's called the Academy for Life, Pontifical Academy for Life. It's a collection of priests, theologians, moralists, physicians, scientists, researchers. And so we had our General Assembly, and that was the occasion I had again to meet Pope Francis and talk with him for a couple of moments, and gave him an update actually about the pro-life movement in the United States and some of the trouble that we're making and some of the work that Priests for Life is doing. And so that was of course a special opportunity. And then later in the month, I went back for the 20th anniversary of the document that many of our viewers are familiar with, called The Gospel of Life, the great encyclical that John Paul II wrote in 1995. And it really is, in many ways, a Magna Carta for the pro-life movement. I mean, Christians of all backgrounds can look at that document and find the biblical and ethical basis and the exhortation for what we're all doing in this pro-life movement. So we had a prayer service. I was asked to be one of 5 pro-life leaders from around the world to lead a meditation or reflection. We held it at one of the papal basilicas called Santa Maria Maggiore. And it was a beautiful occasion, because what the Vatican wanted to happen was, and many people did do it, that there would be simultaneous prayer services around the world in different dioceses and different parishes, and focus back in on that document, which is the strongest statement the Catholic Church has ever made on the question of abortion. So we had that on the vigil of March 25th, which was the day the document was released. And then on the 25th, we have a big mass in St. Peter's Square.
Wow.
A very, very strong homily on abortion by the main cardinal there that takes care of St. Peter's. So it was it was one of those moments that we all need for refreshment and just to be invigorated once again.
So this is the Catholic Church reaffirming their position on life.
Exactly.
And our very own Father Pavone is helping to lead the prayers.
Yeah, what a deal.
In the Vatican
Yes.
City. How amazing.
Well,
Congratulations.
and it's a great affirmation, too, of our work at Priests for Life.
It certainly does affirm that, absolutely.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Also, we understand that you have a book coming out.
We have a book coming out called Abolishing Abortion. I am more excited about this than about anything I've written over the last 4 decades of my pro-life work. This is, really I see it as a manifesto. It goes back to the basic principle, first of all, that this is the priority issue. This is priority
It's not
number
an issue.
1.
It's
That's
not
right.
an issue,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. And that number 2, it challenges both the church and the state in terms of what do we need to do, and specifically, as people will see in this book, what do we need to sacrifice in order to end abortion? Because a lot of times the problem isn't that we don't have the right idea or the right message or even the opportunity to save lives. It's that we lack the courage and we lack the willingness to give up what we need to give up, sacrifice what we need to sacrifice in order to get it done. So this is going to be coming out in August. So then is when we'll really do a big media push for it. But I wanted to mention it now. People can pre-order it at abolishingabortion.com. Both Amazon and Barnes and Noble are offering it pre-orders right now. But you'll see Life Dynamics, Operation Rescue, all tied in with what I have to say, because we all think along the same lines, of course. And but it is a pro-life manifesto. It's a challenge. One of the things I deal with in here at length is the problem that we all see with churches being so afraid of losing their tax-exempt status, and therefore they use that as an excuse not to talk about abortion. And the mythology behind that fear and those excuses I destroy in this book.
Well, first off, you're a 501c3.
Yes.
We're a 501c3. They can do anything we do.
That's right.
So
Say
what's
anything
the
we
problem?
say. What is the problem? That's
This
right.
is a crutch for the church.
It is.
That's what they use it for.
It is a silly.
It's a crutch for the church and a
ridiculous-
hammer for the government.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I read your preface or the first chapter, and I do appreciate the fact that you call us to a sacrifice. That there is something we must do and sacrifice in order to abolish abortion in America, and that is our primary function as people of faith. And so I would just encourage people to pre-order it and get it now. I was challenged, and I can't wait to read the rest of it.
Well, you know, that concept goes to something that I've talked to you about many times. If you do something for God that doesn't cost you something, you didn't do anything.
That's right.
Never think you're doing something for God without it costing you something.
And you know, Christian believers that read this will see there's a fundamental biblical principle here. Scripture talks about the Father sending Christ into the world. What does it say? He laid down his life for us, so must we lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. I've always said, you know, there's good news and bad news. The good news is we're going to end abortion. The bad news is to do it, we have to give our lives away.
Yeah.
And unless we're ready to make this sacrifice, we're going to be making excuses. We either make the sacrifices or we make the excuses.
And the church has made the excuses, unfortunately. You know, we're completely out of time, but I've always said, you've heard me say this many times, and you've totally agreed. It is an indictment, not just of the Catholic Church, but of all churches in America, that there even has to be an organization called Priests for Life. Shouldn't that be understood?
That's right. Absolutely.
But it's not, unfortunately.
And the people who support us and the people who rally around us are doing so very often precisely because they see us doing the work that they thought was going to be done by their local parish.
Right, exactly.
And wasn't.
And won't be, unfortunately. But anyway, well, I think the whole pro-life movement will be excited to see that. So we're happy to kind of help promote it even months in advance of it coming out.
Thanks.
Anyway, thanks, guys. It was a great show, and I guess we'll be looking to see all of you back next month. And well, who's on next month? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. Anyway, we'll have to look at it.
Yeah.
Either one of y'all.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next month. Thanks. Well, that's all the time we have for this month. We want to thank you for joining us, and don't ever forget that Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win because winning is how this killing is going to stop. We'll see you in June.